Wild Coast FM, your community connection.
Chatting about why we become a different person when we're around specific people. And I don't know if you've experienced that personally. I definitely have. And I'm sure that many of the listeners have as well. And of course there are specific situations in particular. So this isn't necessarily just a blanket statement, or we can't cover every single scenario. But for a lot of the time, it could be that, I always speak about being authentic and being your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
In many occasions or situations where I've personally gotten tongue-tied, had a sudden loss of memory, can't string a sentence together, just have a feeling of being anxious and wanting to get out. And when I've reflected on why I felt that way, it's oftentimes when I'm around someone that I'm uncomfortable with because I feel like they're either hiding something, so whether they're just full of hatred and full of fear or full of anger, and they're pretending to be a nice person, where you get that feeling where, there's something underlying that is not sitting well with me. Or it could be someone that's maybe trying too hard, where you look at them and it's as clear as day to you that they're either incredibly insecure or definitely trying to hide something because they're trying too hard to be nice or to tell the world that they're okay. So for me, more often than not, it's boiled down to inauthenticity from the other person, or lack of authenticity from the other person.
Okay.
And
I also, do you, because mentioning when you said you sometimes meet someone and you feel, there's something, something's just not right, or everything you just said basically. And
yeah.
Are we right? I'm not talking about judgment. There's a very fine line here. And I'm not talking about being that very horrible person that just judges someone. I'm talking about when you meet someone and that they bring up where you just don't like them. You've got a bad feeling about them, and then usually 10 years down the line you've proven right.
Yeah.
Do we act on that? Do we get burnt? What do we do? Or do we just go to the person and say, hey, why are you giving me a bad feeling? It's how do you work on that? And also, my inquiry is when we are horrible to our loved ones, when they sometimes bring out something really bad in us by just being nice to us and just loving us. And suddenly we're just these horrible people to that. I'm not talking about a stressful day at the work. How do people, just by being or asking you if you want a cup of coffee, or like, hi, what would you like to order? How would you like your steak? Bring out all these feelings sometimes. How does this work?
I think in those situations it's probably something that you're going through personally, and you're mirroring or reflecting it on that person. So either it's something that they've said, or the way they've said it, or how they're being, that is triggering something in you that maybe you recognize, or perhaps you're not in a good space for whatever reason, and because they're being so nice to you, so desperately want to be what they're reflecting, that you're getting annoyed, angry, frustrated, and short-tempered. So either maybe it's you're reflecting something that you're not, or you're trying to be, or you haven't been for a long time, and you're wanting to get to that place. So perhaps if it's with a loved one, it's check yourself first. So maybe it's actually got nothing to do with them. But if that has changed, maybe it's something internally, or maybe it's something that they've done in the past that has triggered you, and you've just kept it pent up, and you haven't spoken to them out of fear of hurting them or disappointing them or embarrassing them or whatever. But in those instances, I would definitely encourage you to be brave and speak to the person about that, especially if they are someone that is in your life and that you love or have loved before. So it comes down to communication. When it's a complete stranger and you've got no reason to judge them, so it's not that someone has told you something negative about them, so you've got no reason to judge them at all, I would say trust your gut instinct. It's that part of us that's made, I do believe that we're body, mind, and soul. And sometimes it's that part of your soul or your spirit that is disconnecting to something in them. So whether you believe in energies, or you believe in God, or you believe in angels, or whatever those messages are, sometimes it's something inside you that is picking up something negative from them. So in an instance where it's a complete stranger, I would heed with caution, and I've learned to be that more as I've gotten older, where when I was younger I would just give people the benefit of the doubt every single time until they prove themselves wrong. Whereas now I don't go in with judgment and saying, oh, you need to prove yourself to be decent enough. But I do at least use caution if there's something that's really telling me be wary of this person. So all it means is that my judgments become a bit more heightened and I become a bit more cautious. So I don't necessarily write them off, but I am more careful, or maybe I'm more careful with my words or what I share with them, etc.
Yeah, it's also, I think, from the other person's point of view. I think also being in hospitality for so long, a couple would sometimes get out of the car. They haven't even walked into the restaurant yet, and you know that they are going to find fault with absolutely everything that you do that evening. You just pray that they're not going to sit in your section, and then they do. Yeah. And it's sometimes learning how not to take things personally. How people carry things, like you said, it's something within us, whether you that rude person that day or you being, someone's being rude to you, on how to, just check yourself. Did I, steal her puppy before she ordered her T-bone? I don't know. And whether we should carry it or not, really. And I don't know, if you're the person giving someone a bad, creepy gut feeling, then, God bless you.
Absolutely. And it comes again as to checking yourself for sure. So like you said, when that couple comes out the car and you know that they're going to give you a hard time, it could sometimes even be maybe they collectively or individually remind you of someone that gave you a hard time. So whether it's the mannerisms, the way they dress, the car that they're driving. So sometimes it might not actually have anything to do with them, but someone before that you've engaged with that has given you that bad service. So actually, you're now on the defense with these people straight away, and maybe you overcompensate on being polite and being nice, so you allow them to walk over you.
Yeah.
So that could also be something where maybe they've actually done nothing to do that, but they resemble someone else that has given you that feeling before. So, there are so many dynamics, and it can get so complicated. So like you said, it's just being aware of what you are prepared to take on and what you're prepared to let go of. And again, I always speak about this, but it's definitely knowing who you are. Because once you know who you are, you can handle situations and people better. It's when you don't have that sense of worth and that sense of confidence, and your foundation isn't set, that you kind of become like a fish where you flip and flop depending on circumstances and how people treat you.
Yeah.
But then again, bringing us right back to the beginning when we said that there are certain people that leave you pretty much dumbfounded and at a loss for words. Those people have proven themselves time and time again to not be authentic or to be hiding things. So all I've done is I've started distancing myself from them. And of course it's harder when it's family, or colleagues that work with you. But you can distance yourself, whether it's in what you share with them, so those aren't the people that you're going to share your hopes and your dreams and your trust with. But distance yourself in circumstances where you can and however you can.
And it's also a responsibility, I guess, that we, as individuals need to take on. Like you said, it's, how we perceive things and how we carry it through and when we let go of it, but also to make sure, because like you said, there's so many dynamics, and it's so interesting how one person's bad mood, I want to trace this one day, how one person's bad mood or rudeness can bring something out in you, and you've got a split second with someone at a traffic light and you pass it on to them. It's common sense. It's an old cliche. But, I had an instance today where, I was focused and I was going about, and came across this person who was running a business, actually, was the owner. And, I had about a 7-minute rant on a voice clip after that, because I think I'm at that point now where I've been judged usually in my life before. So I've learned from a very young age, you just don't. You never know the other person's story. There are so many sides to a story, and then there's the truth,
Yeah.
And you just don't judge. But I'm at this point in my life where the minute I see you are just rude and horrible to people, I will judge you. I don't know. I can't stop it. And, this is so wrong. Am I allowed to say this? I don't know. But I'm only human. But it's
behavior.
It's Exactly. And it's also just what goes through my mind most of the time is, you've got a car, you've got a bed to sleep in, you've got a roof over your head. It just always, everything these days is coming down to gratefulness for me. And I'm also in a bad mood sometimes, but I don't go out of my way to be horrible to someone or to make sure that they will also be unhappy when they leave my shop, It's, we're so spoiled sometimes. We sit and we are just in such a bad space and we are just horrible to people and we're so blessed. Everything around you can just be translated into light and gratuity, and just being strong sometimes. Life isn't easy. And I was willing to name and shame this evening. That's how horribly this person did me in with her rude manners.
You know what, and it's such a tough one. It's a fine line because it's, do you name and shame them and cause them huge amounts of pain or lack of customers and stuff, or is that the lesson that someone needs sometimes?
This is,
it's a tough call.
But what made me more angry when I was on the voice clip, I realized halfway through was the reason why I was so angry. There we go. The reason why I was so angry is because I didn't say anything. Automatically I couldn't believe the audacity, and immediately I became a bit, really angry people remind me of, who's that man with the little shotgun in Roadrunner? Is it Roadrunner? Well, he's so angry all the time and he's jumping up and down. He's really short and fat. Yeah. When you get angry, I don't care who you are, what you look like that to me. Because sometimes in the Western world, when we're so blessed and we get that angry about a little thing, that's what you're pathetic to me, And it's then sometimes it gets to a point where it doesn't offend me. I just kind of milk it a little. I kind of get into the act with you. Like, oh, really? Oh, no.
You get just caught up in the whole thing.
But actually what should have been done is I should have just, instead of just walking out after having my fun, I should have said to her, ma'am, you're running a business here. You've been incredibly rude since I made the first call an hour ago. And I feel insulted and I will not come back here with my business. I think we need to stand up for ourselves as well, because just because I'm a client doesn't mean...
Absolutely. You vote with your money.
Yeah.
So that is what's going to cause her more pain than anything else, is if you don't support her anymore. But obviously, if you've told your friends or family or whatever, they're not going to go either. So you are doing her a favor if you tell her that, or remind her that she's got a business and, that's not the way to deal with business. And sometimes she won't really care, or the person won't care, or they won't hear it because they think they're in the right. And then so be it. Walk out, wish them love and wish them life, and take the business elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you pointed out that we are human. We do get into these moments, and we do sometimes catch ourselves looking back and think, good grief, I got sucked into that very quickly. And that does happen. And, and I'm not saying that if it becomes a habit, definitely look at that. But if it happens once in a while because you've had a whole lot of stuff happen in your life, or bad news, or people treating you badly, or something, and it's just culminated where you've snapped, that's where, like you pointed out, making time for being grateful, making time for meditating will help you cope better with those situations. So it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It all happens to all of us at some point. But at least if you're practicing meditation or gratefulness or thankfulness, it is going to help you cope better. And ultimately, it's that butterfly effect that you mentioned earlier. If you're in a better place, the next person you impact, you're going to impact in a better way than, recreating what you've just experienced with the other person. So it's completely butterfly effect. And that's where, when we speak about just one thing, it's doing just one thing to uplift the life of another being. Because the likelihood of them going out and doing that to someone else means that collectively we've just made this world a better place, even if just for a minute or two.
I think this woman's going to need like 50 people to be nice to her before she's going to be nice to someone else.
Petra, well, love and life to her.
Exactly. Petra, we've got to go. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault for phoning you, cutting you off.
It was so lovely chatting with you. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.